Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for jumping in here and taking a listen and a look at this. My name is Uncle Catfish. You'll get to know me by other names as we go forward, but for now, suffice to say, I'm Uncle Catfish. I've been meaning to talk at y'all and meaning to do this for a long time, and it's interesting how expectations to me get in the way. It's like never being ready, never being feeling like it's the moment to do it, never seizing on like, let's just do it, let's just throw something out there. It's always, to me, been like this benchmark of, I've done audio stuff before and recordings before and interviews before, and so it's like stacking all of that up against what I want to do next, and it kind of feels like this, on one hand, this feeling that I can do it, that I can accomplish these things, and on the other hand, feeling like held to a standard that I want to be like before. And when I did those things before, they were fresh, they were new, they were the first time. And so I just jumped in and did it, and did stuff for years. But every time there was something new, I didn't think about it. It was just moving forward. And I took a pause on this. Like I tried to take a pause on making stuff and talking and making audio, podcasts and stuff like that. But I found it hard to pause. I found it hard to step away from it and to let it really end and let it stop. And every time I've tried to pick this up again, I say to myself, I'm not going to tell this story. I'm not going to tell you guys like, hey, this is the worry that stopped me from doing this for years now. And I always say, nah, like just jump in, like stop bringing that up. But I feel like I can't start without laying the groundwork. So the groundwork is that I am a man who's been waiting a while to feel like it was the right moment to do this. And I think today I've just said to myself, we're going to start where we are. And so this is the Off the Top podcast, the OTT pod. And, we're going to jump in and just kind of talk about whatever is on my mind because I'm the master of ceremonies here. So, the things on my mind right now is like the necessity of eating breakfast. Now you would think as a man in his, let's say young to middle age, that I would have figured this out by now, that eating breakfast is a good idea. Now you're probably thinking, wow, in 2022, with all the podcasts available that I could be putting in my ears, I'm listening to this guy talk about the necessity of breakfast. But it's true. I really wish that I would embrace that. I currently am growling and finding it ridiculous. So please, if you're listening to this, make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're eating your food, and go from there. I think the big thing I hung up on though is expectation, and I think that's just where I want to be with this. Is I don't let enough ideas really see the light of day. I think I might think I'm, smarter than the average bear or something, and I can predict where they're going. And when I talk about art with artists, and when I talk with art about musicians, and, when we get into that, I know what I'd say to encourage them. I know what I'd say, and I know it's true to just jump in. Like, don't let your art be something so prescriptive that you know where it's going. Like, is that even making art? Is that even being creative when you're kind of just making a product you already know exactly what it's going to be and exactly how it's going to function and all those things? It doesn't seem, for me anyway, that leaves out the fun. And yet I think that's kind of what I wanted, was a sure thing. I wanted to know that it would work, know that it would be successful, whatever that means. I think that's something you should write down for another episode, is what is success. So today really my goal is just to get going. I think for a long time I thought about momentum in one way, which was the momentum of something moving. So I've always thought I got to get momentum, and today that's very much what this is. It's like, let's get one of these and let's put it out there, because that'll create momentum. And in the meantime, I've been thinking, it's not that we don't have momentum. It's that principle of an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So that's about momentum. You have momentum, you have motion, you're moving, and you tend to keep doing that. But I think also when we get slowed down or when we stop doing something, it's maybe even harder to find the momentum to restart. And recently I took a lot of visual artwork that I'd made, prints, drawings, the plates, the woodcuts that those came from, and use them to make a new piece after I'd held on to them for, some of these pieces for 15 years. And it wasn't that I was treating them very well or that I was really caring about them, but they were important to me as like, I did this, these were high water marks at one time in my creativity. And so to get rid of them would be like mean to myself or lacking, care, I guess, for the past. And yet what it became in some ways was also that it kind of captured me or trapped me in those things, again, as these expectations that I need to feel that feeling again or be able to accomplish what I did before. And why would we ever want to do that, really? Why do we want to just do it again? I felt those feelings, I achieved those things, they don't go away. But if I don't bury them, if I don't take that material and kind of allow it to become compost in the creative, soil that is my mind and is my ability to do things, then I'm going to stay stagnant. I'm going to stay stuck there pining for the past and pining for a time that will never come back, that was glorious. But there's more glorious times that lie ahead, I think, when we use what we've made as fuel. We, maybe initially what I did was cut down the tree, and then I used that to make something. Well, that something now can be fuel for the fire again. And it's motivating me to just bust out and kind of do these things. And I think my hope with this really is to get back to a place where talking to you is a big part of my life. Maybe down the road, you'll talk to me, but I need to talk to feel whole. I need to talk to make things real. I need to talk. Initially, I think in my life, it was a real coping mechanism at a young age. I've talked about that a lot at other times, but I guess, you and I are just meeting each other. So, some of you anyway, I'm just meeting you. And yeah, I've come to realize that it also really helps me to talk out loud to myself in some ways, which, that's sort of the weird thing about doing radio or doing podcasts is you kind of are talking to yourself while hopefully having an audience that will hear this in the future and find it resonant with them. So, I do find that kind of bizarre, and it's something I used to just feel really comfortable with and really good at doing, and I feel like that muscle's just rusty. And so bear with me as we go forward on the Off the Top podcast. I think it's something where I'm just gonna, try to sit down as regularly as I can and have these moments with you and with myself where, some ways maybe this will be a bit of an audio diary. Maybe this will be, who knows? I did a show for years that I started with no real sense of where it was going. And as much as I've just talked about not wanting to recreate the past, that's the one piece. That's the one thing I want to keep is I don't know where this is going. And I want it to shape me as much as I shape it. And I want you to help shape this too. When radio and podcasts are working the best is when it becomes a bit of a dynamic of a community where it's a two-way conversation, and we're not fully there yet, but we'll get there. It takes time to build that community. It takes time for you to develop trust in me, and it takes time for me to develop trust in you. But the one thing that I don't want us to do is shut it down. I don't want to shut down, like, where could this go? So when you tune into this, you're never going to know what you're going to get. I never know quite what we're going to be doing. And so we're just going to figure that out together. So as we go forward, the one thing that I was hoping from you, audience, is, if you like what you hear, if you don't like what you hear, let me know. Hit me up. We're going to have all the social medias and stuff set up for that, and I'm sure there'll be ways to find me going forward. So, thanks. It feels really weird to say, like, okay, that's it. Like, I don't know what I gave you, but I gave you some honesty and some realness, and again, something right off the top.